Hello and welcome to the Day One Patch Podcast, episode 485. We're approaching 500. That's rather impressive.
I mean, you say approaching, that's like 3-4 months away still?
We'll be there before we know it, though.
I mean,
we'll get there. And that'll be the final episode of Day One Patch Podcast.
Oh,
a nice round
man.
500.
You said that at every 100, I think.
Have I really?
I'm pretty sure. I'm fairly certain. And for the Shoulder Button Boys, it was like 6 or maybe 12 or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I dare not listen to those episodes.
I did not too long ago.
Oh.
I couldn't hear them too well.
You couldn't hear them?
I couldn't hear them too well.
Oh, man. All right. Matt Lawrence, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, yeah.
And Tim Spence.
it's always the same every time. I'm doing all right. Yeah. I really last week I wanted to answer like that. When you asked me how I was doing, I really wanted to go, I'm doing all right. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta mute my iPad here. Hang on.
Oh, look at Mr. Moneybags over here.
Yeah, it's true, actually.
Oh god,
right?
all 17 of my Apple devices are going off at the same time here.
It was an expensive iPad, yeah, that's for sure. Matt, you want to start us off with video game fun facts?
I do.
Were you able to find one?
I found a collection, actually. So this week, well, just a bit of background, I guess. I like to cover like a thing that hasn't been covered much, or something that, interests me. Like last week, Tim presented on my behalf the old school updates. However, this week I looked around, couldn't really find anything. And what I'm finding is, and maybe this will play to our strength, is that I'm having trouble finding information that isn't popular, because obviously the popular stuff bubbles to the top.
Yeah.
And so I don't know whether I have to learn how to look up archives or some crap, but that was the trouble this week. But I was able to find some, and I decided to do it in relation to our stream, in which we've been playing Halo 3 ODST, and we may play other ones in the future as well. So I just have a collection of Halo fun facts. Some of them are ODST based, some of them are not. But let's go. So there is a common sort of theme in Halo in which you, as Master Chief, go through and, of course, thwart the plans of the Covenant and kill many of their soldiers, the grunts, the brutes, etc., etc. And because of this, many of the Covenant soldiers will refer to Master Chief as the Demon. However, and this is, I guess, a little bit of spoiler, but the Arbiter turned ally actually refers to Master Chief as Spartan rather than Demon. And this is because this goes to show the Arbiter's faith in Master Chief, and also the Arbiter's disbelief in the actions and the words of the Covenant. So it's a bit of a character building thing that's just sort of thrown into sort of the regular dialogue, if you will. And attention to detail.
That checks out.
I like little things like this because I know movies will commonly get praised for stuff, right? Where they'll be like, oh, that window was down and then it started to rain and you never saw the character go to roll up the window, but they did walk out. And then when the scene pans over, the window's rolled up, and just little things like that is pretty cool to see in games. I feel like games don't get enough credit for, well, they don't seem to get enough credit, but I feel like there's a bit of a renaissance of that type of content now on YouTube.
I don't know if games do this. They probably do, but movies often have someone who manages and keeps track of where objects are or what's been said, and they have what's called like a lore Bible or something like to that effect that has all the information about all the characters and their past and what's influencing them and stuff, and they can refer to it and stuff like that. Now, obviously, mistakes are always going to be made. You can't track it completely, but I don't know if games actually have that. I'd imagine they do. Someone to kind of keep those things in check.
Some sort of continuity officer.
Yeah, that's right.
Make sure that they have that Starbucks cup on the table is fully in shot.
Yeah. Or that guy in the Mandalorian who just had a white shirt and jeans and just was
was in the crowd, yeah,
sticking out on the side there. That's so good. In The Last of Us, there was a whole camera crew in one of the wide shots of the a river. There's a whole camera crew just standing on the bank of the river.
What the hell?
Yeah, I think they CG'd it out in later airings of it.
There's I think there's a Ford F-150 or something in the background of a Lord of the Rings shot. It's just an F-150 just sitting in the back of a forest, and you can just sort of see it sitting on a path back there. I mean, I guess for the time, VHSs were still around, and so were CRTs. So I bet you it was pretty hard to see. And I would assume they've since CG'd them in subsequent releases, but who knows? Maybe not.
It was cropped out in the 4x3 version.
Was it?
It was, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. everyone who bought the widescreen edition were able to see it, but not the.
Yeah, they were like, wait a second.
One of my biggest regrets is when I was buying like DVDs for the first time, and I bought all full screen, thinking I want to see, I want my whole screen to be filled. What's with these stupid black bars? And now they're just like kind of gross DVDs that have all this footage cut off of them. Horrible.
It did look better back then, though. Like having the black bars on a TV that was 4:3 was pretty atrocious looking. Yeah. And normally the TV was pretty small to begin with.
Do you know how they came to the 16:9 like aspect ratio? Like why they chose that as like the kind of standard that's been existing for like 20 years now?
I thought it was some sort of like math or something that they did. Like
it's kind of is. It's a compromise between 4:3 and then cinematic widescreen. It's like the perfect ratio in between the two, so you can watch both content comfortably on that display.
It's not the golden ratio, is it? 16:9?
No, I don't think so. All right, thank you, Matt. That was cool.
Well, hang on here.
Hold there's more.
I got a collection of Halo fun facts here.
Oh, okay, cool.
Halo Combat Evolved, which is the first game, was actually supposed to be single player only. So even though the Halo series today is well known for its multiplayer, and in fact, it's one of the more played features of many of these things, many of the titles. The multiplayer feature of Halo Combat Evolved was actually just created in the last couple weeks leading up to launch and added into the game at the very last minute. So the game would have only had a single player campaign. And this would have been on the original Xbox, where, I mean, Halo and Xbox Live are hand in hand. And Halo and Xbox Live are kind of like launched around the same time. You know, Xbox Live is new, Halo is a new title, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of crazy. So now the first Halo was not, I don't think it was online. I think it was just multiplayer, like, you know, split screen, local multiplayer, if you want to call it that. But this, of course, was an inspiration for and then led to later down the line when Xbox Live released later in the Xbox Original's life. Halo 2, of course, had multiplayer and then like online multiplayer, and then online multiplayer, of course, blossomed from then all the way until everyone's favorite title, Halo Infinite.
That's a good point, actually. I can't remember if Halo 1 ever had online multiplayer. It definitely had LAN. I remember my brother would bring our Xbox over to his friend's house, and they would hook up the Xboxes for LAN, and you could have 8 people in the same match. And at the time, that blew my mind. I was like, I can't believe that this is a thing you can do. You can like hook up a console to another console, and everyone can play in the same like game at the same time. That's super sick. But that's funny because that's similar to a very another very famous story where 007 GoldenEye on the N64 also was not supposed to have multiplayer. It was an afterthought because they finished up dev a couple of weeks before they thought they would, and so they had some time to kill, and they just started messing around with making a multiplayer mode. And then it became, again, one of the most iconic features of that game.
Isn't that funny?
And kind of, I think it was one of the first like multiplayer shooters, like certainly local multiplayer shooters. Like obviously Quake is like kind of up there for the earliest like competitive shooters, but for local multiplayer, GoldenEye is brought up a lot. So it's funny that it was similar for Halo.
Because the thing too is, like Perfect Dark. I don't know if Perfect Dark had a similar story, but Perfect Dark and GoldenEye Online, or not GoldenEye Online, but GoldenEye multiplayer, like you're saying, kind of go hand in hand when you look back on like N64 multiplayer games like that too.
I think it was the same team at Rare that did both.
Oh, that's interesting.
Perfect Dark is after GoldenEye, and you can tell that it's like very similar gameplay.
It's cool too to see sort of the infancy of repeatable like gaming. Whereas like, you know, the story of a like the campaign of a game is cool, and as a kid, you know, you'll play the campaign, you know, 8 or 10 times or something, but there's something about the longevity and the randomness of a match, right? When you're playing against somebody else, every match is going to be a little bit different, especially once you start adding bots into the mix. Now there's something to like constantly go into and actually do and play in these like maps that you already know. So it's kind of the birth of that. And yeah, based on your comments there, like, yeah, like I'm pretty sure like Halo Combat Evolved was LAN, but Xbox Live, as far as I know, didn't launch with the Xbox original. I'm just doing this from this. This is outside the scope, obviously, of the fun fact at this point. But I believe Xbox Live released later. But I know for sure that Halo 2 was obviously an online game, which was a big thing.
I remember the commercials for Xbox Live that were like on some game discs on Xbox at the time when they were really starting to like push for the marketing. there's that old classic like original commercial for Xbox Live that had like the guy with the Dark Master gamer tag, and it also had the feature with like the headset. You could there were like 3 or 4 or 5 different like voice filters that you could have, and so one pitched your voice down low, and one made it sound like a robot or some other shit like that. And it was like a core feature of like Xbox Live, the original one that was added for the first Xbox like a year or 2 after it came out, I think.
And you had to remember there was like an Xbox Live starter kit you could purchase. Like that came with like the headset and all that, and like explained it because it was obviously like PlayStation. If you had any games that were online on PS2, they were free, or you had to pay the specific game, like Final Fantasy Online. Whereas like this was like, hey, you have to pay to access the network, but we're doing voice chat and blah blah blah, and there's all this sort of infrastructure behind it.
Mm-hmm. So both Xbox and PlayStation, you have to pay to use their online services. How does PC get away with it? Why don't they need to be paid for their online services?
Just built different. Just
like
better.
If I'm playing through Steam or something, like why don't I need to pay Valve some money for that?
Well, like some of the games will be like private servers, so servers that are run by players or by services that will host them. Many games are peer-to-peer, which is another thing. Like oftentimes you're paying for the online service. Like for example, on Xbox, you're paying for like the voice chat in that. So like if you go back all the way to Call of Duty 2, there were not dedicated servers. However, you could talk online and that type of thing. And obviously Call of Duty 2 is interfacing with Xbox Live in some way to deliver you some of those features. Yeah. That's effectively what you're doing, right? Like the developers interfacing with an online system that's common across all Xboxes or Xbox 360s at the Call of Duty 2 era. And then that's ultimately what you're paying for. With PC, it's just sort of like you still have those times. Minecraft, if you want to run a server, whether it be Minecraft Java and you want to run it, you can run it yourself on your own computer, or you can pay for a service. If you want to play Minecraft, like the Microsoft edition of it or whatever it's called now, you can pay like a certain amount per month. I think it's called Realms, I want to say. I don't know if that's right, but like they'll host the server for you, and then that allows like cell phones and tablets and everything else to join your game too, consoles and PCs. So there is still a little bit of it. It's just the fact that the like connection system isn't monopolized
right
on the PC. Like we're talking on Zoom, we could just as easily be talking on Discord right now.
I guess they kind of just from being when you're playing on PlayStation, that's the only place you're playing, and so you're kind of locked into them charging you. Like they kind of can force you to pay to play, right? Whereas PC, like you said, you can go anywhere. You can go to Steam or Epic or Activision or whatever, Battle.net. I mean. Right, you can kind of go wherever you want. So maybe there's a little more competition there. I don't know.
Either like even on PC, we have like an over inundation of like overlays right now, right? Whereas like
you want the new one, the PlayStation one.
You're not going to have the Xbox overlay on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
So like there is a monopolization of your own ecosystem.
You will, I think, because the Xbox game bar just goes over any game, right? I guess you won't have game integration, right?
Some games will, some won't. Like there's certainly ones that will. Like it'll like there's even like an error I think I saw the other day where it's like this game's not playing nice or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I got 2 more quick ones for you. First one's real quick. Second one is a little longer. Second one here, the third one here, second last is Bungie was planning Destiny well before its reveal and release, and they were planning it so far back that posters reading "Destiny awaits" can be found throughout New Mombasa and Halo 3 ODSTs. So we should keep an eye out on the stream for that. It featured like a logo at the bottom, sort of a triangular-ish logo on the bottom, and an Earth at the top with the text again, Destiny awaits.
Yeah, so I remember seeing that one before, and I feel like it was not that long ago either. Like, I feel like this is a relatively, either it's a relatively, like, recently discovered thing, or just, like, people started talking about it again. But yeah, I remember seeing people talking about, like, Destiny mentioned like years before it actually came out.
It's interesting how things go through phases like that, where like it's been discovered, let's say 10 years ago, and then some random YouTuber just puts out a video that becomes successful that talks about Easter eggs, and that's in there. That's an interesting Easter egg, even though it was a known thing. And then like another generation or something, or another group of people discover it, and now a bunch of other people start talking about it, and then just goes around and around.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things too, right? Where like, if they never actually ended up making Destiny, it's just like, okay, like it's just a poster that's there, you know? But because they did end up making Destiny, now it's an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's a bit of like self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah.
There's some in the Fallout universe too, right? Like people are like, they'll look at stuff and be like, oh, the phone number for Vault Tech for like Vault 4 in the series was like split up, and it's like some sort of date in 2025, I think. So people are speculating
was that there was the arrival time for a train to Boston is in the I can't remember what it's called in Fallout 3, but the not Unity Station, that's Canadian, but whatever the one in Washington is. The arrival time for a train to Boston was the release date for Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 takes place in Boston. And people went back and checked because they were like, oh, maybe Bethesda went back and they like updated Fallout 3 to like have that so they could say, oh, look, we like totally made a throwback to it or whatever. But there were no like changelogs in the game files. So they, not that they necessarily like did it intentionally, but somebody probably went back in Fallout 3 and they were like, Boston. We just chose randomly 11/14. November 14th. Or something like that. I don't know when Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 came out, but it's something like that.
That's crazy dedication and execution, because that's a number of years later. Like New Vegas had come out.
Well, not only that, but the fact that they even anticipate somebody going back and playing Fallout 3 and even finding that, like that's such a throwaway thing, because those textures on those like arrival boards in the train station are not high resolution. They're kind of hard to read. So it's such a thing that like you could so easily miss, you know?
I want to know stuff like that. How much of it is the dev, like the individual dev doing it, and how much of it is sanctioned by the team and the managers, and even some of the brass, where they're like, hey, let's put an Easter egg in there. Because like, I'm curious, if you were just doing it as a solo dev, how far could you push it? Obviously there's a limit. You can't just be like, by the way, our next game's Assassin's Creed, Shadows, and then you just have this like, hang on, what? And then people start freaking out, of course, right? And then, you cause chaos. So like, I wonder what the limit is. That'd be an interesting, like, insider information bit. And the final part of my Halo fun facts for the week is regarding the Halo 3 engine. The Halo 3 engine was actually developed by Bungie Studios, and it was a significant advancement in game engine technology at its time of release. It was used in both Halo 3 as well as ODST, and it supported complex artificial intelligence systems. So for example, it used task trees and behavioral trees to manage AI behavior, allowing for more dynamic and responsive enemy encounters. This meant that AI-controlled characters could make decisions based on a hierarchy of tasks and behaviors, creating a more lifelike and challenging gameplay experience. This reminds me, I don't remember when this game came out now, but AI improving in shooters beyond like guys just like standing out in the open and shooting at you. And then if you went into cover, they can't see you anymore. And then they run up to you and then they stop where they see you. Like when they see you again, they stop running and they shoot. Halo 3 is one of the ones that I remember, but the creme de la creme around this time was actually Fear. I don't know if any of you guys ever played Fear or Perseus Mandate or
a bit of 3, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an old game. That's an old game, but it was Fear 1 was old.
So was Halo 3.
Well, I'm talking about the original Fear too. But like, the original Fear was like commended for having like the guys would like do shit to get to you. Like there's this one instance where like I think there's a famous clip on YouTube or something where like this guy is like, holding a door or like whatever he's doing. And this AI like notices that he can jump through a window and then jump through another window to get through 2 offices to get to your flank. And the guy just does it. And it's like back then, like that's crazy combat when, many games still had like that original sort of dumb AI that I was talking about. And I remember this too. This is a really random like side thing. Tim, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember the Fallout 3? I want to say it was definitely a presentation with Todd Howard, and I want to say it was at E3, but don't quote me on that. Where one of the revolutionary things was there was like a band of super mutants, and the one super mutant like runs up to you and like starts shooting you with like a minigun, and the other one has like a worse weapon. And the one with the minigun dies. You the character, you kill him, and the other one runs over to his dead buddy to pick up his gun. and then he starts using the minigun because it's a better weapon.
Right.
And I remember like Todd Howard explicitly mentioning that, and it was like, okay, like around that era, like 2008 and like the surrounding years before and after was when AI started getting, quite a lot more intelligent.
Sometimes it feels like they're still bad though. And a lot of even like big games, like sometimes they just feel kind of bad.
It's funny,
I guess they kind of have to be, because if they're too good, then you're just going to be killed all the time.
Yeah, you have to make them kind of dumb.
Yeah,
so that it's fun for the player to like be the big strong hero character or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't remember that like showcase of them talking about that feature, but that's absolutely a feature that I'm like, yeah, that's definitely in Fallout. Like I notice that all the time, is they'll just like default to whatever is the nearest like strongest weapon. Though they don't always do it. They will, like, I think it depends on the intelligence stat of the character that is looking around. But that just makes you wonder, like, how many, like, calculations are these characters making all the time? Like, how frequently do they check for, stronger weapon near me, right?
They must have made that super mutant really, really intelligent then, because usually they are not.
Yeah, they are. Super mutants are, like, the point of them was to be smarter and stronger than humans.
I guess, but, like, many of them, as far as I understand in the lore, like, aren't many of them, like, that's one of the failures, is some of them become mega intelligent, like the Master and things like that, but then aren't many of them, like, really dumb? Like, most of them can't really speak more than, like, muttering a few, like, head hurt, a noise, and things like that, like...
I mean, it might depend on, like, what generation of super mutant they are.
Yeah.
Because there's that one, vault in Fallout 3, I think, where it's like they had the modified FEV virus in it, and the super mutants, the people that were in the vault that got turned into super mutants, would then go out into the wasteland to find other people, bring them back to the vault, and turn them into super mutants as well.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's like the super mutants that made other super mutants did a bad job, and those newly made ones are the ones that are stupid.
I mean, this is a spoiler for Fallout 4, I guess, but in Fallout 4, what's that one super mutant you can find out in the wilderness? It's in the Glowing Sea, Virgil, I think.
Yeah.
And I think he has trouble, like, he comments on he's having trouble typing because his fingers are so big and clunky. But I think he starts having trouble, like, thinking because he's, like, a genius or a scientist or something. And he turns into this big green, like, buffoon, effectively. And he's, like, getting pissed off because he can't type and he's not as smart as he was. And, like, it's just a big mess. Like,
all right. Thank you, Matt. That was great.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the news for the week. Matt, I don't know if you watched this yet. The Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer. Did you get a chance to watch that at all?
Nope. I watched Google I.O. instead because I forgot about this.
Oh, my God. That's all right. We got a new trailer, CG trailer, I should say, or a cinematic trailer. Release date, dual protagonists. This is the first time since...
Syndicate?
The England one. Syndicate, yes. This is from IGN. The trailer was like nearly 4 minutes, which was quite long, actually. And it introduces players to Ubisoft's take on the 1579 Japan alongside Shadow's two protagonists, the stealthy shinobi Naue. I don't know. I'm not sure how to pronounce that at all. I did hear it.
No way.
And the action-oriented Yasuke, who is a real figure from Japanese history.
Shadows is African samurai.
Shadows is a solely single player, but players can switch between the two characters at will. Players can explore both of these characters and the ambitious open world of Japan when Shadows launches on November 15th, 2024 for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and Amazon Luna, but also macOS. They didn't list this.
Oh, what?
Coming to macOS as well. So this one's made by the same guys who made Odyssey, so that makes me very excited. And it's returning to the open world kind of RPG action kind of genre. But one of the cool things that they're adding is a season cycle. So just like you have like a day cycle where it goes from day to night or night to day, this will actually change seasons, and it will actually affect gameplay. So there's like things where if you're doing like stealth and you swim under certain objects, or you dive below the water to avoid or evade enemies, that'll be frozen in the wintertime. And then same thing with like tall grasses and bushes and things that'll be gone during the winter. So you won't have those to stealth in as much during the winter. So cool gameplay updates like that. But overall, let's just get since Tim, I guess you watched it. What is your initial reaction to the Shadows trailer?
I mean, my policy, no gameplay, no hype. So
yeah.
There's it's a CG trailer. It's obviously very like visually impressive. It sets the scene, and like that is to say like it's not a bad showcase of like sort of the era they're going for, right? And the artistic style is very nice, as those trailers always are. But I was definitely more intrigued by like obviously the information that they shared in mostly like bullet point form, or other people reporting on interviews that they did, or the interviews from devs and things. I find the season thing to be really cool. Now, they did also say that it's like you can't just keep, staying in the same spot over and over, and then, without progressing the story, and the seasons will change. Like the seasons change dependent on how far you are through the story, because they want to keep historical events accurate to the time of the year that they happen.
Oh, wow.
So you can't just go off and do all the side stuff and have it go from spring to summer and summer to fall. But that is cool. I'm really interested to see how that's going to be pulled off, and if it's going to be one of those things that's just sort of like a minor gameplay difference, like the fact that it's like, oh, there's normally grass here, but it's the fall, so all the grass is like dying. I guess I'll just hide in this tree instead. Like, it's actually not a big deal.
It's cool, but it could be minor for sure.
It's cool conceptually. I'm sure gameplay wise, it's not actually going to be as impactful as you might otherwise be led to believe. I liked the showcase of the different like tools and stuff. Obviously, like there was, for those that played like Assassin's Creed 3 and possibly subsequent ones that had more like stealth mechanics. Like there's a lot of very like there's a lot of like tool use when you're playing as Connor for like throwing the like darts and ropes at people with their legs, and then like jumping off a tree branch and jumping down, and you pull them up into like a snare kind of thing. Like these different kind of traps or tools that you can use. So I can imagine that the Shinobi character is probably going to be employing a lot of tools as well that could be really cool for gameplay. Showing off the like hidden blade that comes out but then rotates sideways, and then she can sort of use it as like a reverse grip dagger. Was cool. That being said, I mean, we've seen Assassin's Creed gameplay or Assassin's Creed CG trailers before, where the character had tools that you can't actually use in the game. Like the very, very first one for Assassin's Creed 1 showed Altair using a hand crossbow that's like on his back, and he just shoots a guy as he's like jumping over another guy. And there's no ranged weapon like that in the game. So it's very possible that they'll use stuff in those CG trailers that we won't actually see.
Did that not show up?
No. Ezio had a like wrist mounted like gun,
right?
In I think Brotherhood. I don't think it was 2. I think it was Brotherhood and Revelations. He had like a ranged weapon like that, but we didn't see it until Ezio. Actually, just since I can take a look, because I sent that breakdown of stuff to you guys. I mean, it's not new to like games, but them having like a dynamic weather system could be really cool. I would really love to see a dynamic weather system in a game that's like, it has varying intensity. Because you know how you'll play a game and it's like, oh, sometimes it rains, sometimes it's a windy, storm, sometimes this and that and stuff. And like Red Dead Redemption 2 has a really good dynamic weather system. It's probably the best one in any game, because it actually like is based off of, the clouds form over the river, and if the wind is blowing to the east, then they go towards the east, and then once they get big enough, they start raining.
Like it simulates real life.
Like it simulates real clouds. But what I would love to see in a weather system like that is differing intensities. Like sometimes there's just a absolutely pounding down like thunderstorm where it's just sheets of rain and the thunder's super loud and it's like constantly going off, and you're just like, oh my god, I am at the mercy of the elements right now. Like it's actually affecting how I'm going to like potentially attack this camp that I'm trying to like sneak into or whatever, right? Like that would be cool, because it's nice to have the weather for like setting the scene, but to have actual mechanical gameplay effects would be really cool.
Yeah. So as for the map size, it's going to be roughly the same size as Assassin's Creed Origins. And there's also going to be new gameplay elements, including the ability to go prone. You can use a grappling hook, and you can accurately cut through practically every prop in the game and more. So that sounds kind of interesting.
Man, there's going to be those crazy assassinations where it's going to be like the kind of the paper wall.
Yeah.
And you see the shadow and then wham with a katana. Oh man.
Well, that was like Ghost of Tsushima. You could do that. You could, slice through, or pull through people through those paper walls or whatever.
Only if they conveniently stood with their back to said door, which NPCs did all the goddamn time in that game because they wanted to give you the opportunity to do it.
I had a question about this. This is like an open world like RPG one, Assassin's Creed. Is this like how is it going to handle the two characters? Do we know? Do you level up each character individually, or is it one skill tree and you just get to choose like, oh, visually I want to be this person now?
Well, they play differently, so I imagine they'd have different skill trees.
Yeah.
Now, how leveling up works, I don't know.
Because I do actually know. I'm just not telling anybody.
Oh, geez.
Because her character is obviously a little more nimble, maybe fights with more swords and throwing weapons and things, and she can't really take a lot of damage. But when you switch to the male character, he has the heavy weapons, he has the armor, more brute force kind of thing. So definitely they're going to play completely differently, and will have their own set of skills, I'd imagine. But maybe they'll just give you a skill point when you level up, regardless of who you are, and you can just assign it when you're that character again.
Maybe it'd be like GTA 5, where they're both on the map at any given time, and when you swap out, it just zooms out, loads for about 4.5 minutes, and then it zooms in.
Which one's the creep like Trevor? Like, which one of these two are like going to be doing creepy stuff, like, I don't know, like shitting in garbage cans and fucking beating people up and fuck knows whatever Trevor gets up into. Wakes up in the hills of the desert, like just in a dress, and it's all like tattered for some reason. Like it's just. They also said like you can switch between the two at any time, but I wonder if like certain missions are going to force you to use one or the other.
I was gonna say like mid mission, yeah,
because like that might be historically significant, but also like to kind of force you to play that other character a bit, right? Especially if there are these RPG mechanics, like you don't want one character getting under-leveled if that's how it works.
There's an IGN article on here where they're complaining. I mean, people should go read it for themselves, but they're complaining that it's another like Japanese samurai game.
What?
And I guess they're kind of enough. They're done with Japanese characters being samurais in games.
I got a great solution for that. Just don't play the game.
Well, my thing is like the Assassin's Creed game is literally about going to all these different countries and literally going to the most significant historical part of that country and, quote unquote, exploiting it for the gameplay. You know what I mean? It goes to like a famous historical period, and that's what Japan's most famous historical period is.
Are you saying that they're upset specifically because it's a game in Japan, but because it's also just another samurai game? Like they want a Japan game.
This is what I'm saying.
Samurai?
People should read it for themselves. It's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
And I think part of him, it does say he's glad that the male character is not a Japanese man, because he's like you can find enough Japanese male samurais in games, right? There's an endless list of them.
I can't wait, because it's probably already happened, but I cannot wait to see the like mass influx of people who are like, why the hell is there a black samurai? That doesn't make any. It's just the woke media trying to include people into situations they were part of. It's like without realizing that it's an actual real person that existed.
So just in his end summary here, he said, I find comments saying that Assassin's Creed Shadows is a missed opportunity to represent even more Asian protagonists embarrassing. As an Asian man, I don't want to see us have the roles we're expected to have. I want the roles we've not had before.
Does he specify which roles those are?
Well, he says, I would love for the next Alan Wake style horror game to have an Asian protagonist, or for Star Wars to follow in the footsteps of the Acolyte and have an Asian lead.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, there's nothing wrong with more representation.
I agree with him, but it's like we've been wanting an Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan
since the beginning.
Since Assassin's Creed came out. And now that it came out, it's like, you want to take it away from us?
Well, I don't think they necessarily they want to take it away.
They're just tired of the samurai trope.
Like, sure.
Yeah.
And like everyone's going to have their own subjective views of things, right? Like, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you get to completely wipe away the work of the people that are working on this game, because, and maybe I was going to say a couple of people, maybe it's more than a couple of people, but because some people think that, we don't need another Japanese samurai game.
I think it's just hard when like it's just been cemented in media for decades, if not centuries, that Japanese are samurais and ninjas, and it just becomes a stereotype.
I feel like it's been long enough now, though, that like became not the stereotype anymore. Like it was so long between like ninja and samurai stuff, and then now that we have one again, people are like, "Oh, here we go again." It's like, well, I mean, it's been like 20 years. I mean, come on.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I was just looking this up. I was curious, like how many of the characters in Assassin's Creed games were real. So I just looked up a few of them, like just like a random scattering. So Ezio is not real. I mean, I'm not really surprised by that, but Ezio is not real, and not based on somebody. Like most of the time, if someone is, like Ezio, he'll be like sometimes loosely based on somebody, if at all, right. And he's not. Bayek, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Bayek is also fictional, and he was in Assassin's Creed Origins. And then even in this game, so Yasuke is real, but someone pronounce it Neo. She is not real. She's not a real historical feature.
They had like an extra video where they were talking about them making the game, and I think they said this is the first time that a playable character is a real life figure. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. Because there's obviously real figures in these games, like Da Vinci and etc.
Even
Blackbeard, Caesar, Cleopatra. The list goes on. Napoleon, Captain Kidd. Yeah, there's a whole bunch.
Washington.
Yeah.
Is he in a game?
3.
AC3, yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
I think he gives you like some missions or something, and then I think he burns down your camp or whatever.
Yeah, because he's just General Washington. He's not the president.
Oh, right. Yeah. Holy shit! I didn't realize it was supposed to be George Washington.
Yeah.
That whole time.
Oh, well, okay. Well, all right. That's all we got, I guess.
Was there something else? Or
no,
you just
not
so
really.
Shocked by the?
No, I just had nowhere to go from there. I was thinking about something, but I don't know if it's relevant. Well, it is relevant, but it's not worth talking about.
Oh, okay.
That was a whole lot of words for like something your brain does in like half a second.
Yeah. But I'm pretty excited. I did want to get the collector's edition, but it's already sold out here in Canada, and there's not a lot of like. What I find weird is like Best Buy doesn't even show it. Like, are they not getting the collector's edition at all? And it's sold out at GameSpot, and so
you should go to GameStop and
GameStop,
like, yeah, go to GameStop. Like go to like the real physical location. See if they have it.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy stuff.
That's what I used to do. That's how I used to get all my AC
who does
stuff
that anymore.
We did. We got our consoles that way.
I know. Yeah, I know. That wasn't that long ago either. Was that 4 years?
Something like that. The latest consoles, like literally the ones that we're using right now.
They picked them up during COVID.
Yeah, that was crazy. Letting them all like super late, and everyone's like staring at each, like the guard kept like staring at us, like why the fuck are these people in here?
Yeah.
And then they man, it benefited us so much that we stood in that line, and they were just like, hey, we can't have a gathering here, so here's a ticket. Do not stand in line. I was like, fuck, fantastic. Don't have to stand here and be bored as fuck. That's fine. I'll go get Tim Hortons. Like, fuck it.
Remember how weird it was though when we were there for the Series X and S, and they had names X and S, but when they asked us what console did you pre-order, they were like digital or disc.
That's right.
I'm like, I don't know. What are you talking about?
I think that was their SKU. I think one of them said that. One of them said that like the SKU on the because like Microsoft was making sure no one was able to pre-order until like noon or 11 a.m. or something our time, and so they were giving us just because of COVID a ticket for being in line because you weren't allowed to gather.
Yeah,
and then it was like you have to come back and you better come back on time or else you're not gonna get like your pre-order.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next story here. Prime Video orders Tomb Raider live action series. This comes straight from TombRaider.com. So Prime Video announced today that it was ordered a Tomb Raider series with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who is from Fleabag and also the most current Indiana Jones film, set as writer and executive producer. The project comes as part of a deal between Crystal Dynamics and Amazon MGM Studios, originating through DJ2's first looked deal with the studio to develop additional Tomb Raider stories in streaming and film. Tomb Raider will premiere exclusively on Prime Video in more than 240 countries and territories worldwide. Prime has all your entertainment and streaming needs in a single membership. I don't know why I added that in there, but this little marketing bit for you. What I find interesting about this is, though, obviously Prime just had a very successful Fallout series. They have Rings of Power. And then they have like The Boys and Invincible. So a lot of like nerdy kind of stuff going on. So what do you think the strategy is? You think it's good for adding some more video game content to the library?
Freaking talking MGM here. Where's my Stargate reboot, huh? That's what we need. I hope Giuliano's listening to this.
Yeah, I see how it is. Never happy with what you're given. Always wanting more.
Yeah, actually. Where's the Stargate?
Actually, let's make this about me. That's it.
I don't think Matt has any connection to Tomb Raider at all, but
I used to play them back in the day, and I like the movies for the time. I kind of aged poorly-ish. Like, I've watched them not recently, but probably within 10 years, and it's kind of like, eh.
I think the first one's still pretty good. The second one I tried watching again recently, and it's really kind of boring and dull.
We're talking about the Angelina Jolie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Not the reboot after the game reboot came out.
Yeah, I've only seen that one, the Alicia Vikander one, once, and I tried watching it again, and I couldn't get through it.
Oh, is it really? It's not that good.
It's not bad. It's just not like that enticing, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's not like a bad film. I don't walk away saying, "Holy crap, that was a pile of garbage."
Holy moly!
It was. I would say it was one step above direct-to-DVD. That's my assessment of it. Now, maybe
I think it was better than that.
You think it was better than that? Unless I have a skewed opinion of direct-to-DVD, I felt like some of those scenes were pretty eh.
It was competently made though. Like it's a film. Like it's an actual thing. It's better than Assassin's Creed, the movie.
Oh God,
that's for damn sure.
I remember when that movie
we'll watch again.
Was coming out. They were speculating, like, is this going to be the first video game adaptation movie that gets over a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes? And then it was out for a little while, the reviews came out, and it got a 49. And I was like, ah! Because I watched it in the theaters, and I was like, that wasn't bad. Like, I was enjoyable enough. I'd give that more than the 50. I'd give it like a 60 or 65. And it got a 49 average.
Oh, man.
I'm choosing to believe that I have manifested this news because I started replaying the series on stream. And now, a couple of days after I start, we get news of a Tomb Raider TV show. Awfully convenient. No, but it's sick. There's been some pretty cool cinematic moments and stuff, and I like how goofy it is. Like we have Nathan Drake Uncharted to be like the pretty boy, like sort of more rooted in realism kind of like adventure stories, and then we have just the wacky like alien and dinosaur shit with Tomb Raider. Like I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they go with the show or if it's going to be connected to the games or anything. I do think they want to merge the games somehow, which I'm a little skeptical of. And I don't know if they want to cram the TV show in there or not. But I think it's awesome having a live action one. I just hope it gets the same kind of budget and love that Fallout got, But I don't know if it will or not, because I would presume that Fallout is a bigger franchise at this point than Tomb Raider.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that might dictate budget. I don't know how that works.
Well, I think it'll benefit from like the sort of Tomb Raider-esque TV adaptations back in the day that weren't Tomb Raider, but things like Relic Hunter and that. They suffered from that like Relic of the Week or like Adventure of the Week. But now streaming series have that sort of, not always, but like typically an ongoing story that lasts for a season or two, and there's a bit more there. So they can still go after, like a mythological relic that's really hard to get and blah, 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 and actually get there, in 10 hours or 8 hours or whatever across the entire season, rather than it being like, well, episode 1, we got Relic 1, episode 2, we got Relic 2. And then the epic series finale, eight episodes in or something, it's like that one took 2 episodes because it was really hard. We're hopefully not going to see that. So hopefully it benefits from being longer than a movie and longer than, the per week thing.
Yeah, what is this? The Mandalorian?
Is the Mandalorian very like of the week?
Yeah, it's very like show up at new planet, or at least the first season. I gotta say, like I didn't watch later seasons, but the first season's very like. I think you even said, Ryan, if I had complained about this before, you were like, it's based on sort of like a Saturday morning cartoon kind of vibe, where it's like,
because that's what Star Wars kind of is.
Yeah, we've encountered problem. Here's somebody, we meet somebody who can fix solution. Go to place. Yeah, we could fix your thing, but we got our own thing going on. If I take care of your thing, will you help me with my thing? Yeah, okay. All right, I solved your thing. All right, we solved your thing. Great. Shake hands. See you later. Next episode.
Yeah, there's a loose overarching story involving like Grogu and stuff like that. But that first season, yeah, it definitely is like, oh, what creature are we fighting today?
Yeah.
What new villains are we going to come across? Yeah.
Grimgalors are notorious on planet Wimgon. How did one get here? I don't know.
How about casting? What do we think could portray Lara Croft in a movie or TV series?
The same girl that was in the movie.
Yeah, actually.
You think they're just going to use her?
We could.
Why not? She did. I don't think she did a bad job.
Well, then they would have to connect it to that movie. They don't have to, but
No.
it would be weird for it to be separate.
Nah, I can just do it and then just not elaborate. Easy.
There's many characters.
You can do that.
There's many actors that show up several times as different characters, even in the same movie sometimes. And it's just a different character. They don't mention, they'd be like, hey, hang on, weren't you like Bill earlier? Didn't I kill you?
That would actually be amazing to see a show where they like kill off a character, and every time they do, they just bring back the same actor but in a different character role.
There's got to be a show that has that, at least in some episode or something.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. I don't see any reason why she couldn't, though. Like, aside from that, right? If you want to have like continuity or whatever.
I feel like they'd want to do something fresh, though, and that movie wasn't that successful. I know they've talked about a sequel for that movie, but I feel like they would just want a fresh start with, a fresh actor.
Yeah, sure.
I looked up who could play her. I think a British person probably should.
God, I fucking hope so.
I don't know why that ever seems to be the case, but I guess the voice actors are usually British. But
Emilia Clarke.
I don't see that.
I don't see that either. It's the only other British person I could think of just on the fly. I couldn't really think of another.
I looked up a list of people who could play Lara Croft, and I don't know the first person here. Melissa Barrera from Scream 6 and Abigail.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I don't even know what those are. I mean, I know what Scream is, but
don't you know what? I thought you saw Abigail. Isn't that doll?
That's Annabelle.
Oh, never mind then.
Come on, Ryan. Know your horror. Assuming Abigail is a horror film.
Next up is Mia Goth. She is from X and Pearl. Matt, we've both seen that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. A little bit. Little not, though. 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10 on fitting the Tomb Raider role.
This is a screen rant, by the way. Pom Clementif. She's in Guardians of the Galaxy. She plays the bug lady. What's her name?
Oh. I don't know why I would just like keep comparing her to that. Like, I don't know, because I've only ever seen her as that bug lady.
Well, she's in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
I haven't watched it. I haven't watched Mission Impossible in like 10 years.
Well, damn. Jessica Henwick. She was in Iron Fist and The Matrix Resurrection. These people seem too young. Am I just getting old? But these people seem like they're children.
No, but if it's a TV show, they don't want to get somebody that's perfect and then let's do 5 seasons, and then they start getting too old.
Yeah. Well, I just find people in general look young to me now.
Man, a grizzled Lara Croft would be fucking awesome.
I mean, she's kind of supposed to be, like, right off the bat. Like in the old movies from like the 2000s, like she's supposed to be super competent.
What do you mean by grizzled, Matt?
I mean like old, grizzled, like, okay, this is a really bad reference. Tim's not going to get it. The old woman that's running things in Outriders is the first person I envisioned in my head. Where she was like, where she's like super nice and everything this is a spoiler, I guess, for the introduction in the pre-war. And then like you find her later and she's like she's like a really old woman that's just sort of like sick of war, but she's the leader and she's like a badass now and has an eye patch and crap. Like an old grizzled Tomb Raider. But yeah, I get what you're saying, Tim, is like the ones in the movie were definitely like that portrayal was definitely very like she knew what she was doing, knew where to go, knew how to call people and knew who to get and to like help and stuff.
Well, she's experienced in the Angelina Jolie ones. Like the reboot one, it's like her very first like outing. It's like literally her becoming a Tomb Raider. So I don't know where they're gonna go with the show, if they're gonna go that route or more experienced Lara.
I gotta say it's very optimistic of you, Matt, to assume that Hollywood would cast a middle-aged woman for a lead role.
That's probably I suppose. Yeah, I guess I haven't seen. Not that I like watch like a million shows, but I think I'd be like legitimately super interested in like a one last ride Lara Croft.
No, I agree. I think that we should
treasure.
Have. It turned out it was the friends she made along the way.
Fuck.
No, they should do like. I agree. They should have like a Tomb Raider like in her, maybe not necessarily in her prime, but like maybe like just past her adventuring prime. Kind of like what they started doing with Indiana Jones, where he's like, "I'm getting too old for this shit." Because Harrison Ford was like actually 40 or 45, or
they could use the actress who actually played her in the games. She's been on like Grey's Anatomy.
That's what I was gonna say too. Is like, what about the voice actress?
Yeah,
but I mean, voice acting and screen acting are two very different skill sets.
No, but she does screen acting though. She's not just a voice actor. She's on Grey's Anatomy.
True, you did just say that.
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy, the podcast. Is there a podcast?
Not very action packed either, though. So. But she did the mocap. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, damn. There you
go. Back to this list here. Paigey Keiki, I have no idea who this is. Starred in Attack the Block and is a musician apparently.
I don't think I know who anyone
Daisy
is.
Ridley. That is not a bad choice. I am not opposed to Daisy Ridley.
I also kind of saw, I couldn't think of her name, but I was thinking of her face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a bad choice. Priyanka Chopra? She's apparently in The Matrix Resurrections. Oh, is she the little girl from The Matrix? Is that who that was?
You guys, you're the Matrix fan here.
Yeah, you guys are big Matrix fans, are you?
I'm not a Matrix fan, but it's literally been probably 15 years since I watched The Matrix.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge is on this list, but she's apparently writing and producing. So I don't know if they'll go that route or not. But she's actually British, so that would make sense. Millie Bobby Brown.
I didn't know she was British.
Millie Bobby Brown?
Yeah.
Well, not everyone on this list is British, I don't think. But
okay,
maybe they are. I haven't checked. But Millie Bobby Brown is, yeah. I don't know about that one. That one, she looks like a kid.
I've only ever seen her in the first literally the first episode, actually, of Stranger Things. So I don't know, what she does anymore. I haven't seen her in any other projects.
And then last on the list is Florence Pugh.
I don't see that one.
Not a terrible choice, though, I don't think. All right, there you go. I'm excited. I'm a big Tomb Raider fan. I'll be watching this. I just hope it's as good as Fallout, but I mean, that's hoping for a lot because they set a really high bar. I dare say that the Fallout show is better than The Last of Us. Not that it's a competition, but The Last of Us is my personal favorite game. So for me to say that the Fallout show, I think, was a better adaptation, I should say. And partly because it explored new content rather than rehashing what we've already seen.
Yeah.
I feel like if they made a new story for the Fallout or the Last of Us show, that could have been cool. And they did give us some new content there, but not a whole heck of a lot. And that was kind of like the better parts of the Fallout or the Last of Us show was seeing stuff we didn't necessarily see in the game.
New stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Anyway, I'm excited. Don't know when it's going to premiere. Probably not for a while if they're just announcing it now.
I was going to say, I know you mentioned it just in passing, but do we want to see another origin story? I don't. Obviously I don't, because if I wanted the old grizzled Lara Croft, but
I kind of like an experienced Lara Croft who's already knows what she's doing and stuff.
Because it's we know who she is. I don't need to see her be I don't know what a gun is, and then learn to use the guns, and then she sees the two pistols. It's fuck, again?
Especially since we had a retelling of an origin story 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe I could see that being not recent enough, but if these adaptations, the core fan, the core audience for these adaptations is always going to be people who played the games primarily. Mm-hmm. So I feel it's not that long ago that you would be familiar with the Lara Croft, or at least in the reboot, Crystal Dynamics reboot, origin story. So yeah, if it's going to be the same Lara, hopefully we can see different stories. That's the beauty of making content about this kind of character, is that it's sort of implied that they've gone on dozens of adventures. And so you've got almost total creative freedom to have them go on an adventure that's not covered in the games. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. Because the Laura that we get in the Crystal Dynamic ones, she's really new, right? She knows archaeology and stuff.
She's straight out of college or university.
Yeah, she's supposed to be quite young.
Okay, so she doesn't have any
might
field
even
experience.
Be in university. I don't remember.
This might be a university trip. She graduates, I think, just before, because when there's a scene in the first game when she's on the ship and she's looking in the locker at a picture of her and her friend, and they're in their graduation gowns and caps and stuff.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our final story for the week. Final Fantasy maker Square Enix will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy after profits tumble. This is from IGN, reporting its financial performance for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024. Sales in the digital entertainment segment, which includes video games, rose by 2.6%, but profit fell by 15.8%. This despite the sale of Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, Foam Stars, and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Specifically on HD games, the subcategory Square Enix uses to encompass all of the games above. The company saw a significant operating loss of approximately $51.9 million. Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth both launched on PS5 as PS5 exclusives. And while Square Enix has announced a sales figure for Final Fantasy 16, It is yet to do so for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the second game in the company's trilogy of Final Fantasy VII remakes. In his financial report, all Square Enix would say is it has suffered from an incomplete journey to better profitability in HD game development. That's amazing.
What a weird way to word that.
An incomplete journey to better profitability in HD game development.
AKA, we fucking bombed.
Yeah.
An incomplete journey.
I also like how they call it HD game development, like it's 2007.
Yeah. HD game development.
Yeah.
Do they mean like UHD? Like what are you trying to say?
And that it had launched many titles, but some failed to live up to the profit expectations, especially outsourced titles and some AAA titles. It seems likely that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, at least, is included in that. I mean, we've kind of talked about Square Enix for quite a while about them constantly. Speaking of Tomb Raider, they were never happy with how many units Tomb Raider sold, even though it sold like 7 million for one of the titles. You know, they were never happy. They never had the profits. And this just seems to be a problem in game development in general, that these games are costing too much and not making as much as they expected. And I was listening to what's the guy from EPN, Matt? What's his name?
Victor Lucas.
Victor Lucas. And he was like, yeah, Spider-Man 2 was an amazing game, and it cost a reported $300 million to make. But like, wouldn't it have been also good at $100 million?
That's what I was saying. Like, like you look at these indie games that just have insane popularity because it's a fun game. Like the graphics don't matter. You can have a game that has a budget of $10,000 and it's as good or as fun to like the mass consumer market as like a game that spent 300 million. Like, yeah, is Red Dead Redemption 2 a technical marvel? Absolutely. Did it take $500 million to make it? Maybe, but like there has to be a point of diminishing returns where like you're not, more money in does not equal more fun like out of the game. And like as much as you can argue that like the visual fidelity of a game is key to the enjoyment of it, at the end of the day it is still a game. It's an entertainment medium. You're supposed to just enjoy your time playing it. That's what games are for. And so like if you ask everybody in the world like what the primary focus of a game is to them, I can't imagine like how good it looks is going to score very high on that, like on those percentages of people who answered that.
Minecraft isn't a testament to that. Like a modern and like sustainable game that does not look good.
Well, there's a difference between like good graphics versus like a particular art style that ages well.
Minecraft is kind of beautiful sometimes.
That is true. Yeah, it has like ray tracing now and stuff, which just sounds ridiculous.
But even just like the landscapes and stuff, sometimes you look out and you're like, oh, this is gorgeous.
The way it generates is just like...
So it's not a quote unquote good looking game, but it looks pleasant because it has an art style to it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Square Enix has a plan to fix this, and they gave it a name. Their plan is called Square Enix Reboots and Awakens.
No, come on.
Why? Like, why?
That's not real.
Yeah.
That's what it's called?
Mm-hmm. Square Enix announced what it calls Square Enix Reboots and Awakens, a 3-year plan for rebooting for long-term growth. This involves a rethink across all parts of the business, but the highlight is a shift to a multi-platform strategy. Square Enix said it will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy that includes Nintendo platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, and PCs. Note the wording here of Nintendo platforms, with Nintendo set to announce its Switch successor console before April 2025. This just makes sense. I don't know how you have exclusive games with these budgets anymore. You have to have them on all platforms to try to get every, penny you can out of consumers. Because obviously having exclusive, I guess, second-party exclusives is not very good, it seems.
Well, like sometimes when you partner with the actual platform, like they'll help you out, right? Financially, like there's
marketing.
There's pay for marketing. There's like an agreement in place there. Yeah. But like if I made a game, for example, I could just choose to be exclusive. I'm kind of curious, like what Square Enix's deal, if any, was with PlayStation.
Yeah, there has to be a mutually beneficial thing going on. Like Square Enix wouldn't get nothing for having an exclusivity deal. I don't know what that is. But they also mentioned this, and I think I had mentioned this to you, Matt. They mentioned that they have too many Final Fantasy games out. Too many back-to-back.
I mean, that does make sense. That'd be like, well, I was going to say that'd be like releasing COD every year, and I guess that happens, so.
Because they even announced one here that I didn't even know existed.
The Pixel?
Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster.
Yeah.
They had Final Fantasy 16 and then Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. And then just a couple years ago, they had that Final Fantasy Origins game, or whatever the hell it was called, which was like a prequel to the original game. And then they have Final Fantasy 14, which is an ongoing online game, you know? And it was just
do not forget Foam Stars.
No, I'm just talking Final Fantasy properties, and they're diluting the franchise by having too much Final Fantasy.
I agree with you there. I do think that I mean, they're like, like BGS, for example, people always want them to release like an Elder Scrolls or always a Fallout, whatever. But it's a good thing that they have a rotation, I think. Mm-hmm. And, Square Enix maybe could learn a little bit from that.
But what makes me angry, though, is like they don't, I'm no businessman, so I don't know, I might not know what I'm talking about here. But it's like they don't recognize that you dilute a property by just pumping out endless titles. So like Disney with Marvel movies and TV shows, they were doing like 4 movies a year and 4 TV shows a year. And it was just too much, and the quality dropped, and people just became sick and tired of these Marvel properties. And it's like, why does no one ever think, let's just, make it an event? Slowly trickle these things out. When Disney bought Star Wars, they planned a movie every year. And traditionally, it was 3 years between each mainline Star Wars movie. And they dropped it down to 2 and then had a movie in between. And it was just too much. And now I know every studio can't be Rockstar where they take 10 years in between their games. But look how big they become because everyone's anticipating it, So you can't have a dozen Final Fantasies out and expect the franchise to be healthy.
Well, the other thing, too, is I know that Tango is sadly closed, but, I mean, they didn't just do Evil Within. They did Hi-Fi Rush. Like, doing smaller projects in the interim, assuming that, Final Fantasy is obviously a big game for the most part. I know there's some spin-offs and such, but, they're big games typically. It's like doing some smaller games in between might garner some fandom for a potentially large series in the future, or buy you some time if one of the Final Fantasy games does not do well, but one of your smaller projects does well.
You can make up for that a bit.
Yeah, it'll buy you some time. It'll allow you, I mean, and these companies always want data. I mean, the more stuff you release, the more stuff people buy, how you market it, whatever. Like, there's so much data that can be, pulled in from anything that these companies release and anything that they market, that, it is a bit of a shame that we don't see a lot more of that, like smaller stuff in between. Because even like Tim was saying, that there's indie games that are, incomplete, or, they don't look good because it's a 2-person team or whatever. Or it's very simple. It's a very simple game by design. But if it's fun, and it's good enough and it runs effectively, it can garner a huge amount of attention. I mean, look how simple Pal World is, for example. Like, it's so simple, and yet, here we are. And I mean, I guess I don't really know what the relationship is. Maybe this will be the new fun fact, actually. But what I was going to say is that the big studios used to kind of partner with the indie studios, right? There was like ID at EA or something, or EA at ID or something, remember? And they had
ID at Xbox is that one.
Or ID at Xbox, sorry. And then they had EA had one too, though, independent.
EA, yeah, where they publish indie games, and then I don't think there's any cost or something. There's some crazy deal that they do where like they publish it, and I can't remember what it is. I don't want to just.
Well, there's a deal. There's a mutually beneficial deal there. Like whether
it's like a really good one. It's surprisingly from EA.
Right, but I mean, they're probably getting something like I'm speculating, but if they're doing something for free, they're probably getting a tax write-off or something like that, right? Like, there's always going to be a benefit in most cases, I'm assuming. But regardless of which, like, there were these deals where the indie studios were, kind of being helped by the bigger ones. Some of these things I haven't heard from in a long time, whether they're alive and well or dead, I don't know. But I mean, that was an interesting era, right? Like, we got a collection of games that's, they're weird, or they're super interesting, or they're very short, or whatever it is. And it allows you to see like other people's perspective and like what they like. If they make a game this way, like, oh, I like that, I'm going to use that in my game. But if you're just in Final Fantasy, yes, I know Final Fantasy games are different. Like, what a thing to just be stuck in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you're just doing Final Fantasy.
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was Adam Sessler who said this, and it stuck in my mind for a lot of things in life. And it can't miss you if you're never gone, right? You never feel that desire if something's just always there and you always have access to it. And it's like, it's that desire that can drive you, or to drive a property to greater heights. Look at Valve. They've barely released games ever. And when they do, it's a major event.
Major event, yeah.
And probably sells a ton of copies, Now, I'm not saying every studio needs to wait a billion years in between their games, but just let things breathe a bit. Stop trying to milk every single penny you can out of these franchises. It might actually be good. Well, I guess Fallout has a ton of stuff happening right now, but it might be good between mainline Fallout games to be this long,
Well, the thing too is like people are saying like, oh, this is the time for another Fallout game. It's like, no, like, we have Fallout 4 that's been redone. There were leaks of a Fallout 3 remake potentially. Maybe that's a thing that we'll see. Maybe not. Who knows? It was canceled or if it exists. But like, we don't need that because, the show has a second season. And then if Fallout 5 comes out in 3 years, 5 years, whatever. Like, if there's like lulls of it where it's gone for 8 months, a year or 2 years, like then you're going to be like, man, where's that Fallout game at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. That's it for the news for the week. Moving on to what we're playing. Matt, why don't you go first?
Me? What?
Yeah, what are you playing?
Mostly actually just Fallout 76.
Well, you've been busy, right?
Yeah, just a busy week in that like bunch of wedding event stuff, and then I had my birthday as well, and a bunch of other things that happened. So, just been more or less doing the sort of games as a service daily grind, I guess. Doing my dailies, a few days this week, finished up the weeklies. But man, have I forgotten how freaking grindy these seasons are at the later levels, because you have to gain more score in the later levels to level up. It's not like a fixed amount per. And man, like I remember I realized like, oh, I have my weeklies. I should activate a boost. So I activated a boost for 25% more, which then totaled up to be, I think it was like 35% more or something like that with my Fallout First boost. And then I coupled it after a level or two with another boost from my Fallout First. So it was a 50% boost. And even with the 50% boost and having completed all my weeklies except for the gold star one, which requires multiple days, it was just like, man, like I thought I was going to get out of like the 70s. I'm still in the 70s. And it's like another, 21, I guess, 22 levels left for me now. It's so grindy. Like I'm having fun playing 76, but I forgot how kind of crazy it was. Like I know that they'll eventually give us, or usually they'll give us, double score and those type of things. But I wonder if I'm even going to make it. Like it's one of these seasons where I've been playing it quite a bit, and I kind of feel like I'm not going to make it, which is kind of ridiculous. I mean, admittedly, I don't know when the season ends, and I don't know if it's been confirmed in any way. But we also did the Abraxo event, which is ridiculous, which is like you get a free Abraxo paint job for your Pip-Boy, and you go around and you do like Abraxo things like picking up mops and picking up plungers and picking up Abraxo cleaner, and then they give you like an Abraxo branded washer dryer set for your camp. So I did that, and I got that over the past couple weeks, a 2-week event, or 2 weeks of challenges anyway. So that's been fun, but just more or less waiting for that new DLC that's supposed to come out for that. Oh, actually, I did do something else. I completed, it's an indie game. I completed Planet Crafter. It's an indie game where you terraform a world. So basically, you did something wrong. I'm not fully versed in the story, but you did something wrong, and your sentence from this company named Sentinel Corp was to go down to this planet that was basically like a desert landscape, and basically just terraform it. And you do so by adding animals, adding trees, adding heat and pressure, and using electricity to power the machines that do that. And the game is like probably one of the best paced games I've ever played. It's just like, it's really interesting running around too. So like in the beginning, you're running around exploring, there's a bit of a mystery to it, which I won't divulge. But as you like start getting things, there's an Arctic area in the north. As you start getting further and the planet starts heating up, that melts away. Eventually it becomes a jungle. The area that was beside you that's a crater becomes a lake. So if you built your base down there not knowing, like you could get completely submerged by this lake. And with the game changing and you running back and forth, mining materials and doing things like that, it was like not boring because you keep seeing new things in the world, but the world itself in the same areas is changing. And I think it's really well done. It's, like I said, one of the best paced games that I've played. There's even like a part in the game where you eventually start getting auto miners. And so you have these auto miners, and then you eventually start getting drones. So these auto miners, you can, set them up in a cave. And let's say this cave has iron in it. Sure. Mines iron, but it's a low quality auto miner. So it'll mine iron, but it'll also mine a bunch of the other stuff in the area, the kind of like the junk stuff that you have a bunch of. And eventually you can get like a higher tier auto miner that goes faster, but also will specifically mine what you tell it. And then you can get drones at some point in amongst all this, where you can say, this auto miner, instead of me having to come in and empty it, this auto miner supplies whatever it is. And then this container in my base is demanding of that. And so the drone will go and do and supply and demand for you. And so then the game evolves into this other piece where you don't travel around anymore. And you're in your base just trying to get as many machines and rockets, because they are boosters in the game, like they spread seeds and stuff like that. You're trying to get as many of these things going. And so then the game becomes like, okay, I'm no longer mining. I'm no longer exploring. I've kind of explored the map. I'm just going to stay in my base and like kind of grind it away. So the ending was a little grindy. That might have been just because how we played it, like first time I ever played it. But I think in total, like I've been playing it for like several months, I want to say at this point. And like, I think I have like 30 hours in it, and like, that's how long it took me to beat it. Like 29 hours, 28 hours, something like that. But like really well done. Like if you want like a really chill indie game, there's no enemies to fight that are going to kill you. You have to drink and eat, but it's very easy, whatever. You just explore wrecks and stuff like that. Very sort of like just chill, and the game evolves well, and you're never bored, other than the end. Like I said, so at the end, you need 5 of whatever unit it is. And we were at like 2. Now, I figured out how to do it. I just kept sending up rockets, which were like 1,000 or more X multipliers, percent multipliers on, heat and water and food and like whatever, all the rest of the stuff, animals and things like that. And once I did that and just kept sending up rockets en masse, because they weren't expensive for us anymore, then it came naturally. So yeah, no, it's just a really cool little game. It released out of early access not too long ago, and it's been a ton of fun. So that has been completed, and that has also been my week.
Nice, that's cool. Tim?
Pretty much just Tomb Raider, honestly.
Yeah.
We finished off the first game on Tuesday and started up Rise of the Tomb Raider Wednesday.
And flying through them.
I mean, the first game's pretty short. Pretty quick to get through. I think I've almost already spent like an equivalent amount of time in Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is much longer to get through because there's like more side objectives. The world areas are more open. I have one of the DLC add-ons, so I kind of have been doing that, like progressing that as I've been playing through the main story as well. It's one of those games where like if you have the Ultimate Edition of it, you just get bombarded with like so many extra features right off the bat. It's like pretty overwhelming. All the outfits and stuff, and the outfits have like pretty strong passive abilities and things.
There's an amazing outfit in the second game.
So I've been like, I'm just gonna like use the base stuff, and like I'm only gonna use the weapons that I unlock as I go through the game and things, because I don't want to just have these like super overpowered DLC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I can tell, like looking at stats and things, it seems like they're fairly well balanced. But I kind of want to go for the like more of the OG experience.
How did you look at the end of the first one? You get the pistols at the end.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I played it, you get to do the iconic like dual pistol moment, and it's like, oh fuck yeah, this is Lara Croft, baby, Tomb Raider.
But then she doesn't have them in the second game or the third.
Well, she also doesn't. She doesn't like bring her guns with her on the expedition, and then so she's like out there, and it's like, well, I don't have my gun, and I don't have my friggin' bow, and I don't have my rifle, and it's like almost like a here we go again kind of.
It's weird that they changed her iconic like weaponry from her pistols to a pickaxe and like a bow and arrow. Like those now are her iconic weapons of choice.
Well, it's like that game came out in 2013, the first one. And 2013 was the year of the bow.
It was, yeah.
Crisis 3 came out. It was Super Soldier with a like high-tech compound bow. Tomb Raider came out. Last of Us came out. It was the year of the bow.
I think Katniss too from
Hunger Games.
Hunger
Games movie also came out. So that's just a symptom of the time. But that's largely been it. Kayla and I have been playing a little bit of Jedi Survivor here and there. But yeah, pretty much just Tomb Raider Rise of the Tomb Raider. I mean, every once in a while when I have a chance to just kind of sit in the evenings, I might boot up New Vegas again, just because I'm in my own time kind of playing the Viva New Vegas mod pack, which I've said, like I said last week, like it's pretty well going to have become my new default, I think, for New Vegas. Like I'm not going to be able to play vanilla again because it's just really nice to have the stability and like the very slight graphics tweaks to just make things a little bit more modern and just higher resolution. Like I had no idea, I didn't even realize that like all of the menu stuff is not high resolution. Even if you're playing the game on like 1080p and a 1080p monitor.
Oh wow!
Like all the graphics turned up, like the UI elements are very blurry. And so I downloaded mods because somebody made a higher resolution pack for the UI elements, like the AP bar and your health bar, and even things like menus and stuff, and the Pip-Boy as well. And it was funny to have to download that and then boot the game up for the first time and be like, oh my god, like I feel like my eyes just got so much better. Everything is so much more crisp and looks so much nicer, and just like the game loads so much faster. It's just the stability and the performance stuff is so I didn't realize how good I could have had it, you know?
You were showing us a guy that was puking repeatedly right before we started recording this in New Vegas, to be clear. Is that part of the mod pack?
I was gonna say I don't actually know. It's hard to tell, right? Because like I know that when you go to New Vegas, like the Strip for the first time, and it hits you with the and all the lights are shining and stuff, and there's the NCR like soldiers on leave are all walking around, and there's one NCR soldier who's like leaning against the one sign in the Strip, and they're like puking their guts out, and then there's another NCR soldier there that's like, man, I'm the commanding officer's gonna tan your hide for this and all this stuff. And I was like, that's the only time I can ever remember a character in New Vegas puking. And I don't know if it's just like a random event or you have to progress the story for like the NCR or something. Because I had gone back to Camp McCarran and there was a firing squad. They had a bunch of fiends lined up against the wall, and the NCR guys all start opening fire on them at the same time. And then as soon as the last one's dead, one of the guys runs over to the wall and starts puking at the wall. And it's enough of a like multi-stage like scripted event that it seems like it was made in the core game,
right?
But I don't remember ever seeing it before, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's like one of the mods in the pack that sort of adds to like flesh out the wasteland. Like they add more soldiers at McCarran to make the camp seem more like a main camp for the NCR. They fill out the casinos with more gamblers. Like they just add more NPCs to more areas where it would make sense. Because you go to the Strip for the first time in the base game, in like the vanilla game. I remember going there for the first time, playing it on 360, and being kind of like, "Is this it?"
Yeah.
Like I thought this is supposed to be like this is the spot in the game. Like this is the Strip, and there's like 8 NPCs walking around. Like it's super sparse. So
especially Camp McCarran. Camp McCarran is like that one dude that you can kill to get the machine or this machine or whatever it is. I think it's at Camp McCarran. It might not be Camp McCarran.
This machine is the battle rifle that is sold by the guy who's he's like sources stuff for the NCR, but he does tons of stuff on the side, like with the gun runners. And then there's the La Longue Carabine, which is one of the first recon sniper guys. The old guy has the custom trail carbine, I think it is.
And it's an M1 Garand, right?
That's this machine.
That's this machine, okay. Because I remember there was like one, maybe it was just for a quest, but I remember like going through one of like what was presumably one of the main sort of NCR camps. And I think that camp may have had like a train or a tram to New Vegas, and you have the option to bomb it. That's Camp McCarran?
That's McCarran, yeah.
Because I remember like walking out on like the airstrip or the tarmac of some sort, whatever, the open area, and there's like no one out there, and he's just kind of doing a patrol, and it's like, this is like a military stronghold. Like the fucking raiders down the road could just take this.
Yeah.
Also, like that guy puking, not to bring that up again, but he had the most Bethesda like thing ever. Like goes and pukes, has like a pretty decent animation.
Yeah. Stands
up, snaps into I need to walk away position, walks away, immediately stops, turns back around, pukes again, stands up, repeat.
Yeah.
Like
rinse and
fucking
repeat.
Christ.
As for myself, not a whole heck of a lot with me either. Overwatch, Fallout 76. I too did the Braxo challenge, Matt. I finished the season in Overwatch 2. And then just recently I uploaded a couple videos to our YouTube channel that you can go check out. I got an iPad Pro with an M4 chip, which is like their top of the line base chip right now. And I started playing not Final Fantasy, Resident Evil Village, which you can check out the first like 10 minutes of to see how it looks on an iPad. And then also I did Call of Duty Warzone. You can check out a match I played there, and I won. I won that match. I was surprised because I was just doing it to record. I didn't know how long I was going to last. Ended up winning the match, so that was kind of fun. I don't play it that often, but I do want to try out some games on my iPad. And I was talking with Matt, and we were talking about like Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming out for Mac OS, not iOS as I thought it was, because I think Mirage is coming out for iOS. But I might actually end up trying to play Assassin's Creed Shadows entirely on my MacBook and see how that goes, because I've not played a full game to completion on a MacBook yet.
What's your MacBook? What M is it?
M2 Max.
Okay. Is that better than the M4 that's in your iPad?
Yes, because it's like those the Max and Pro chips are reserved for like the MacBook Pros and the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro Tower and stuff. So the portable devices never really, or I guess the more handheld devices never get the Pro or Max chips. So it being an M2 Max probably makes it a lot better than a base M4. The M4 is still like has some better technology in it for gaming, like ray tracing, a couple other things that they throw in there, and AI as well. Got some AI stuff in there.
Goddamn AI freaking processors. That's all I ever hear about now. It has an AI chip. It's like, fuck.
Yeah. And then we all played ODST, Halo 3 ODST.
Hey!
And it was quite enjoyable. It's got a great mood to it. Mm-hmm. It's got some attitude.
We've had some real dumb moments. It's fucking hilarious.
Someone clearly had some visual direction that they wanted to go with it, and it's really cool. I'm really digging the vibe of it all. And the gameplay is fun. It's Halo, you know?
Yeah, I forgot how goofy Halo could be.
Yeah.
Like, it's just constant. It's pretty incredible.
That guy in the Warthog. Who is this guy? And he's just like, I want to kill everything and just being super aggressive.
Yeah. All right, that's it for the show. Tim, where can they find you playing Rise of the Tomb Raider?
Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Which is a gorgeous looking game, by the way, isn't it?
Rise of the Tomb Raider, Son of Rome.
It's really, really nice. Good game, by the way, Rise, Son of Rome. It's really, really nice. There are like the main areas of that map that are quite large, like the Soviet installation, that are abysmal performance-wise. The frame rate there is so bad, and
even
I've
on
tried,
your PC, eh?
Yeah, on the PC. Got a 3080 Ti, and I've tried messing with the settings. I think it's just not a good port. I think it's just not optimized. It's really not very good.
You got to turn off the hair physics.
PC didn't really help.
Turn down the hair physics. Although I love the hair physics.
I turned off
every game to have hair physics.
Pure hair or whatever they call it.
I love it. I hope they continue with it.
Even turning the game down to the lowest settings, which removes shadows, all the textures are terrible. It looks like worse than like Fallout 3 on the 360 back in 2008. Like it generally looks really bad. And she's just completely bald. I was running around, and it's one of those situations where it's like you look one direction and it's kind of nice, and then you turn around and look up the mountain, and it just gets super choppy. It's like 20 FPS, and it's all over the place. It's really unfortunate. So we've just been powering through those sections, but made some pretty good progress in it today. And I'm really enjoying doing sort of like a lot of the side content as we come across it. I find the sense of like upgrading in those games to be really satisfying, like finding the parts for different weapons and building new weapons. And what was kind of a difference between this game and the first game of the reboots is that like as you go through the first game, when you find upgrades for a weapon, it just makes the previous weapon obsolete. So like the recurve bow gets upgraded to, you know, the compound bow, and then the compound goes to like the competition bow or whatever it's called. And you just get these like better assault rifle, modern assault rifle. You know, you go from like an old World War II trench shotgun to like a Spaz 12, basically. Like you just get these ridiculous upgrades. But with this game, like you keep all of the different kinds of weapons that you've ever found, like the different rifles and the different pistols and the different bows, and they all have their own like strengths and weaknesses, which is kind of cool. So it's like if you want to go through the game with just the recurve bow from the very beginning, you totally can. it just might not be as strong as some of the later bows per like arrow hit, but it's more accurate and it's got a higher rate of fire. So like if you're going for like multi headshots, more of like a stealthy bow approach, it's kind of better to use the recurve bow because every upgrade that you apply to a category of weapons applies to all the guns. So like as soon as you get a silencer for your pistol, you have a silencer for every pistol. Ooh. As soon as you upgrade the like fire rate for your bow, every bow shoots faster. And they all just have their own kind of base stats that get adjusted. So I quite like that because then it lets you sort of have like your own play style can kind of emerge, which is in like a narrative kind of puzzle platformer action game. There's not a lot of like room typically for like different play styles. But this one kind of gives you a little bit of that depending on what gear you want to use. So that's pretty cool. I really appreciate that about that. And yeah, God, I have so many like outfits because of all these like extra add-on packs that I get because I guess I bought the like complete edition on a Steam sale probably like 8 years ago, and it's just been sitting in my Steam library, so it's been a good excuse to finally get around to it. But yep, that's Rise of the Tomb Raider, still working our way through it. Twitch.tv/The Sidetrack, Mondays to Fridays.
And you'll see us playing ODST, Twitch.tv/DemonPatchMedia, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.